Once upon a time, in a small town, a man named Anthony lived with his wife, Linda, and their two kids, John and Lisa. Anthony worked in a factory. He worked very hard and often did overtime. Linda was dark-skinned and chubby, but Anthony loved her so much. She was a housewife. Their neighbor, Ariana, was very kind to Linda. She often visited her for tea and friendly talks. Ariana's husband, George, and their two sons, Mike and Monty, also liked Linda and her family. Their houses were close, and their bond was strong. One morning, Linda woke up and gently shook Anthony.
Anthony, please wake up. I'm going to the kitchen for making breakfast.
She stretched and walked to the kitchen. She made tea, toasted bread, and boiled eggs. Meanwhile, Anthony woke up John and Lisa.
Kids, time to get up,
he said before heading to the bathroom. The kids got up, freshened up, and got dressed. Linda set the table, and Anthony and the kids came in and sat down.
Eat quickly, or you will be late,
Linda reminded them. After breakfast, John and Lisa grabbed their bags and rushed to school. And Anthony went to work. One day, John said,
"Mom, I want to eat chicken vegetable rice with mango custard."
Linda smiled.
Okay, dear.
That night, Linda made chicken vegetable rice and custard on John's wish. Then took it to Ariana's house and gave it to her. One night, Anthony came home from work, looking exhausted. He ate little and went to bed. After some time, he rushed to the bathroom and vomited. John and Lisa got scared.
Mom, what's happening?
Lisa asked. Linda looked worried. She gave Anthony some medicine, but his condition got worse. He kept vomiting and had motions.
John, please call Uncle George,
Linda said. John ran next door, breathless.
"Uncle, please come. Dad is very sick."
George hurried with him while Ariana followed. With George's help, Linda took Anthony to the hospital. Ariana stayed back, comforting John and Lisa. Despite the doctor's efforts, Anthony didn't survive. Linda sat in shock. George sighed and called home.
Mike, Anthony is no more.
Both boys wept. Then Mike wiped his tears and went to Anthony's house. He looked at his mom, signaling her to come outside. Ariana asked,
"What happened?"
Mike swallowed hard.
Mom. Uncle is no more.
Ariana shocked. After some time, George and Linda arrived with Anthony's body. The kids froze in disbelief. John sobbed. Lisa's eyes widened. She stepped back, her hands trembling.
"No. This isn't real,"
she whispered. Then she broke down, crying.
"Dad! Please don't leave us!"
Ariana hugged Lisa tightly, tears streaming down her own face. Ariana, George, Mike, and Monty tried to comfort them, but grief filled the house. After the funeral, Ariana brought food. She sat beside Linda.
"Please, eat something."
Linda shook her head.
"I can't."
Meanwhile, Monty and Mike tried to feed John and Lisa. Ariana held Linda's hand.
"You must be strong."
Linda sighed.
"How can I live without Anthony?"
Ariana's eyes filled with tears.
"I know it's hard. But be brave for the kids."
Linda wiped her tears and nodded. A few days later, Linda noticed the kitchen was almost empty. The money Anthony's factory sent wasn't enough. The next morning, after sending the kids to school, Linda went to a factory. The manager looked at her.
"Do you know how to stitch?"
Linda shook her head.
"No."
The manager nodded.
"Sorry. We don't have anything else right now."
Linda didn't give up. She went to several other places. She asked for helper jobs. Each time, she was told,
Sorry. No openings.
One night, Ariana told George,
"Linda couldn't get a job."
I'm trying for her.
George replied.
I heard about a sweeper job on the roads. Can you talk to her?
The next day, Ariana hesitated but told Linda.
"Will you do the sweeper's job?"
Linda's face fell, then she smiled sadly.
"I can."
Ariana gave her the address. The next morning, Linda applied. After a short interview, she got the job. That night, the kids were upset. John looked sad.
Mom. A sweeper job?
Lisa's voice trembled.
Isn't it embarrassing?
Linda smiled softly, trying to stay strong.
It's not about shame, my loves.
Ariana, Mike, and Monty comforted them. The next morning, Linda set out for work. She put on her uniform, took the broom, and started sweeping the streets. Mr. Harris, the superintendent, scowled as he saw her.
You are slow! Do it properly!
He barked, insulting her without reason. Linda felt tears welling up, but quickly wiped them away and kept working. After her shift, she returned home and started cooking. Though sad, she didn't show it to the kids. One day, Lisa's classmate saw Linda sweeping and whispered to the others.
Lisa's mom is a sweeper,
Laura said. Another one added.
How embarrassing.
They teased. That night, Lisa cried and shouted,
I won't go to school anymore. They are making fun of you.
Linda sighed.
Okay.
Linda shared the situation with Ariana, who helped Lisa face them with pride. The teasing stopped. At the end of the month, Linda was excited for her salary. But when Mr. Harris handed it to her, she noticed the deduction.
Why did you deduct my salary? I didn't miss any days,
she asked. Mr. Harris shouted,
If you have a problem, you can leave.
Linda's heart sank. She returned home sadly. The salary was never enough, and every month it was less. She couldn't understand why Mr. Harris disliked her. It wasn't her fault she was black and overweight. One evening, John's shoes were falling apart. Linda managed to find a pair of shoes on sale for John. Lisa sighed.
I have my shoes. Mom, you don't need to buy me new ones.
Linda smiled, her heart heavy. One Sunday, Linda passed by a blood donation center. Linda walked in and said,
I would like to donate blood.
The receptionist smiled.
Of course. Please wait a moment.
She called a volunteer, who led Linda inside and took a small sample of her blood for screening. After a while, the volunteer returned.
Your blood perfect for donation. You can donate a bag of blood every month.
Linda nodded, and the volunteer took her blood for donation.
Thank you.
Later that day, Linda told Ariana,
I donated blood today.
Ariana smiled.
That's amazing. Linda.
From then on, they went together each month to donate blood.
One morning, Mr. Harris's son had an accident on his way to school.
He was rushed to the hospital, and the doctors said he needed surgery. But they couldn't find any blood matches. After trying many hospitals, a friend suggested,
Try the Help Blood Donation Center.
Mr. Harris went there and told the blood group. Just then, Linda walked out from the donation room. The receptionist smiled.
We didn't have the right blood before. But this lady just donated your son's blood type.
Mr. Harris froze, shocked to see Linda. She smiled and left. Mr. Harris quickly took the blood bag and rushed to the hospital. The next day, as Linda arrived at work, Mr. Harris came to her.
Linda, I treated you badly because of your appearance. I was wrong. I realize now that it's the heart that matters, not how someone looks. Please forgive me.
Linda smiled softly.
It's okay, Mr. Harris.
With that, the tension between them melted away.